wouldn't it be nice to live by the water? Well, how about a 40-foot shipping container floating on the water? We're here in Bedford Marina to meet Max and find out about his journey to going off-grid in his stunning floating home. Welcome to the Everything Electric Show. If you like the Everything Electric Show, you will love our Everything Electric exhibitions around the world.
Next up, Everything Electric Australia.
And Everything Electric London.
Get your tickets today.
I suppose from a very young age I thought I wanted to live differently, off-grid, potentially in a small space, and it felt like upcycling being my passion. An old shipping container was the obvious choice. The water bit was a bit weird actually. That came about because I just wanted to have the best view, and I've always levitated towards water, whether it's the coast or the river. So yeah, it felt like the perfect combination of all of my passions really.
Which is pretty lucky because Bedford is not near any coast, not really.
It's almost the furthest point from any coast, I believe. So yeah, to get my fix, instead of driving 3 hours to the coast, I can just look out my window and go for a little paddleboard down the river.
Now, a shipping container isn't exactly tiny, but you do need to think quite carefully about how to optimise the space so that you can live in it comfortably and do all of the other bits and bobs that you need to do. Now, currently, I'm sat at the table, but this is also part of the floor, and this is absolutely incredible. When you walk in, you have no idea that this is here. And then when pulling this little tab here, you bring it up, and then you can sit in the floor and still gaze out at the water. Absolutely incredible and so creative. And next to me is a table, which the beady-eyed amongst you might recognise is also a washing machine drum. In terms of technology, what have we got? What are the kind of big key items?
So I think I want the space to look like there isn't much technology, but that's potentially when technology is a good thing, isn't it? When you don't see it in your face. So I've not got lots of digital looking stuff, but I've got infrared heating in the ceiling. That's powered by a bank of batteries, and that's all powered by solar panels on the roof. So they're the main kind of things. I want it to be as off-grid as possible. Because A, I'm quite tight and don't like spending loads of money on bills, but B, it's better for the planet and it's more sustainable.
So talk to me about your battery. How much storage have you got?
Oh, that's a very good question. I should know the answer to that. So to be honest, they're recycled batteries. So my friend owns, is it a UPS company? So uninterrupted power supplies. So he gives me all of his old batteries because they take them out of some of those uses within 24 months. So I've just got a bank of old second-hand reused batteries.
So you've got second life batteries, and you actually, presumably they're so fine that you're not even having to think about how much capacity you've actually got in them either.
Exactly, because the houseboats, it's quite small, it's perfect for 1 or 2 people though. I never feel like this space is too small to exist comfortably, but it means it's more energy efficient as well, so it takes less energy to heat it, to light it. Yeah, it just makes sense to me.
So you've opened up the doors at the back of the shipping container to reveal this. This is what is powering this shipping container. And immediately you can see just how simple these systems are. There is not really that much to see. Along the bottom we've got the batteries. Those are second life batteries, which is absolutely incredible. There's some spare ones, just in case. This is the system that is coming from the solar panels on the roof. So you've got your inverter here, which is able to see if it needs to draw energy from the batteries or from the connection on the marina. This is the control system for the infrared heating, so super tiny and super simple, and then just a fuse box. You've also got an electric vehicle, so presumably you can use that as some additional storage as well.
Well, initially I wanted to use the bi-directional charging on my van, so I could actually use the solar to charge the van, and then during those non-peak times use the van to run the houseboat, but that's not quite possible yet, as you probably are aware.
But then I have heard it will have a software update and then suddenly it will be possible.
And that's another reason I haven't invested in massive power packs for the batteries, because ultimately I should be using the van that's just over there.
Oh, the ultimate dream. So this is Max's ID Buzz, and it is currently being charged from the houseboat. And just imagine how even more amazing that's going to be when the bi-directional update is made as well. But whilst we're here, I have got to show you this because Max has been rather busy. One of his other companies is called Outlandish, and they make these incredibly beautiful modular and lightweight kits that you can convert your van into a camper van. And I'm guessing one of the most newest additions is the infrared heating that we can see above our heads. Tell us about that, what's that like?
So initially the heating, I didn't know anything about boat life. So I was told by the marina everyone runs off diesel or oil. And I thought, that doesn't sound very clean and sustainable, but let's go with it. So I had an old Arga that was second hand, and it was just costing a fortune. Plus you had to pump the oil from the shore across the water using like drip trays and stuff, and I thought, if that spills, we're going to pollute the water. So I then went to electric radiators, and I had 4 kilowatts of electric radiators, which were quite costly to run. And then I heard about infrared, so I've now got 1.4 kilowatts of infrared heating in the ceiling.
But they're not quite panels, they're more like a material, and it's made up of this carbon nanotubes that are in this sort of mesh-like structure. That's from a really interesting company called Aztec Therm. And they're producing radiant heat, which is a little bit different from convective heat that you would get from a radiator, because it's not heating the air between the source of the heat and you, the sort of object absorbing the heat. And it has the wonderful effect of kind of feeling like the sunshine on your face. And because it's all over the ceiling, you don't get sort of spots which are warm and spots which are a bit colder. It's this wonderful consistent temperature throughout the building. And so in terms of the things that have been most effective, it sounds like the infrared heating is definitely up there. Would you say that that's been the best improvement that you've made so far?
I think the infrared heating first and foremost reduced the energy consumption. The hot water, so a few of my friends here at the marina, they've got massive hot water tanks bubbling away all day long, and I've just got a tiny little 10-litre water tank on an instant hot water system. So yeah, the hot water, the heating, and then little things like induction hobs, then the solar, the batteries. Yeah, it's quite addictive also, I find. Sustainability, you start looking at your smart meter thinking, oh, I'm generating this much power, maybe if I could just reduce my usage a little bit more.
So right now, are you off-grid, or is that the aspiration?
So at the moment, I've got a subsidy from the grid. So I've got a multi-plus controller. It's very special. It's very technical. I don't know how it works, but that's connected to the solar and to the grid. So the grid automatically cuts in when I don't have enough solar, like this time of year when it's slightly darker. But then in the summer, I'm producing excess. So the idea is that excess then goes to my van, and then, like we've said, the dream is to be able to draw that power back from the big battery in the van.
This whole space is just oozing with creativity and really clever ways to reimagine existing objects into new purposes. These lights are jelly moulds. This knife stand is a bunch of books. And this tap, and I think this is my absolute favourite thing in this whole building, is a piece of scaffolding that when you turn it this way, it's for the kitchen. Turn it the other way, it's for the bathroom. That is so neat, and another super amazing way to think about how to make the space really efficient. Now, when you think that this is a shipping container, you might think that that means that some of the rooms are very small and very pokey. You might think that the bathroom would be super cramped, but we're in here. There's a lovely big shower, lovely space, and this is the really, really clever thing. In each of the rooms, there is a little hidden space. So we saw it with the dining table. Underneath the shower is in fact a bath, and next door, that's the real piece de resistance. And in here is a walk-in wardrobe and an exceptional hiding place. And I really think that this kind of epitomises just the degree of creativity that exists in this entire home. Presumably, I think I know the answer to this question, that if you could do this again, you probably would. But what advice would you give to anyone else who's considering doing a project like this?
Oh, that's a good question. So if I was to do this again, I think I'd probably make the insulation even better. I think it's easy to want to spend your money on the fancy stuff, the shiny bits, but actually it's fabric first. Get the insulation as good as you can, spend some additional money there, and then the energy you put into the building needs to be less.
So you've obviously created a life that feels completely idyllic with your ducks visiting you in the morning, but are you actually saving money? And was this really expensive to build in the first place?
So the initial outlay was £45,000. I did a lot of the work myself, but it's perfectly feasible to do that with a narrow boat or some sort of floating container. And I've spent an additional, over the last couple of years, with the additional kind of sustainable items, I've spent maybe £1,000 on the heating, a couple of £1,000s on the solar, but they will pay for themselves in the next 3 years. So the return on investment is phenomenal. There are additional costs though. There's a monthly mooring fee as well, and that ranges between $250 and $500 depending on the size of your property. But yeah, it's well worth it, as you can see from the views alone.
It's been absolutely wonderful to come here and see Max's approach to reimagining space, energy and materials. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please do make sure to check out these ones on screen. And as ever, if you have been, thanks for watching.